What's up, guys? Chris here from the Rule of Thirds. I just finished Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix, and wow, yeah, I guess I'll start by saying wow. You know what? There's so much comic book stuff going on right now. There's such a huge market for comic book stuff, adaptations for well-known stories, different spin on characters and stories that we may have read at one time. You see all the stuff behind me, all these books and stuff and figurines. You know, there's such a huge market for it, and a lot of it's based on characters that we know, and there's a following for, right? But I think because of that market, a lot of people are putting their own spin on superhero characters, how they get their powers, if there's how they coexist with other superheroes. I guess I was trying to think of something else, but I'll use that as a term. The whole dynamic with how they're viewed from a general public. How does society see them? How they live with their essentially in their real life. Their alter egos are their superheroes, but how they exist, in real life as husbands, mothers, wives, kids, siblings, how they exist there. So I just finished Jupiter's Legacy, and it covers so much of that. The first season, and I'm hoping there's more. I'm really hoping there's more. Let me just show you right off the bat. I'll kind of rewind a second, but right off the bat, I absolutely enjoyed it. I thought it was necessary with a lot of the Marvel, DC stuff going on. I'm not sure if it was a Marvel story or DC. I know Mark Miller wrote it. Um, Hopefully, there's more to come. Not trying to give away any spoilers because I think it's one of those kind of stories that you definitely want to watch. It gives a different perspective on superheroes. I will say, as far as the series, the first series, I thought it should have been maybe split into two parts. I like the way how they did it, where almost sort of a Godfather 2, where you had the current day story, but there was flashbacks as to how everything came to be. I really enjoyed that. If there was a part I enjoyed most, it was that sort of origin story, right? I love a good origin story. How someone comes to be, gets their powers, what causes them to, what sort of trials and tribulations do they go through to get their powers, and then, consequently, what sort of trials and tribulations do they go through or have to consistently deal with once they have their powers. The cast I thought was good. You can go, and I'm sure on Netflix, and find out the cast. A lot of the actors we've seen before. A lot of them are new actors. But the whole dynamic as far as this sort of, I hate to say it, but that's sort of, with great power comes great responsibility. That seems to be that sort of underlying superhero code, and code has a lot to do with this story, and whether or not you stick to the code, whether or not the code is still relevant, whether or not the code should ever be changed or deviated from. You also have the idea of family in this story, and how a family is supposed to coexist, and how does a family with superpowers, a mother and father, coexist and raise kids. You have that element. You have the element of maybe past transgressions that maybe someone never forgave, even predating the whole how do we get our when did we get our superpowers? Maybe there's just some grudges that have never really been resolved. I really enjoyed this show. Again, the and when you watch it, this sort of origin story that predates a lot of things that go on current day, which I love the way it was shot. This sort of Depression era style was really really cool. It was gritty. It was in your face. It was cold. It was raw. I love that part of this. A lot of the things that you saw in the present day aspect of the film was again the sort of cold heart of sort of man. Maybe this is what superheroes if they were to exist. This is what they really go through. Maybe their kids have some sort of resent towards their parents because their parents maybe were out saving the world and didn't spend enough time with the kids. Maybe these codes that were relevant during a certain era, and time period. Maybe they're no longer relevant during a new time period. Maybe the leadership that has been in place. Maybe members of the team no longer see that particular individual as fit to be the leader. A lot of things, if you've ever read Justice League, if the Avengers, those are the big popular stories going on, and we tend to see, the lighter side of things. This is a much darker story, and it kind of gives you that sort of insight of, man, this is probably realistic look at a sort of superhero group, superhero family, and the things they go through, the things they've gone through, and then foreshadowing maybe some of the things that will eventually come to pass. Jupiter's Legacy, dope movie, dope series, highly recommended. It's on Netflix. Go watch it. I tried to do this little review without giving away any spoilers. Maybe we will get together and do maybe sort of a review where we can talk about some spoilers. 'Cause there's some really really cool stuff in here. The ending is wow. That last episode, you see a lot. You see a lot from these sort of flashback scenes, and when you watch it, you'll kind of get that sort of vibe where it's showing you. And really, I think it's a span of about 90 years. I don't know if these characters are like immortal. You do see them age, but they've been essentially fighting the good fight as superheroes for a long time. You hear there's a scene where they're talking about World War II and I think even World War II, where they're talking about some of the things they could have done differently in this approach where they don't want to, they don't kill anybody and they don't want to be a governing body. They want to let the people essentially, make decisions for themselves. But you see as time goes on that, maybe that approach isn't the best anymore. But again, like I said, you get this sort of, pre-origin story sort of flashbacks, which me personally, I enjoyed that more so than the present day stuff. The present day stuff is good, don't get me wrong, but like that flashbacks and just everything they go through, and really I think the story at its core is a story about family. It's a story about loss. It's a story about losing maybe someone close to you and what that can do to you, and maybe as an individual the toll it takes on you, but being able to rely on others to kind of get through a tough time. And you kind of see that and even in the present day where there's tough times and just the family doesn't have maybe the means of communication to essentially bridge the gap between husband, wife, father, daughter, mother, son, that sort of, nuclear family dynamic. But all in all, really, really enjoyed it. I'm going to send a message to Nate and Brennan. Definitely put this on, on the watch list if they haven't watched it. Um, hopefully, like I said, we can get on here and we can all share our thoughts about it. But definitely, and you guys know how Netflix is, man. You don't got to wait a whole week, man. You can crush that whole series in a night if you want to. I think I crushed it in like 2.5 days. So no shade thrown to Disney Plus. But man, it was refreshing to sit there and kind of binge watch a series on Netflix, man. Oh man, I miss that feeling. So, but again, no shade thrown at Disney Plus, but that was definitely refreshing. Yeah, I think I crushed it in like 2.5 days. So maybe my guys, I'll let them know it's on Netflix, and maybe they can kind of knock this out, and we can all get together and talk about it. But I'll leave it there. I'm about at 11 minutes. Super excited about this series. I love the new take. I love this sort of. I love superhero movies, as you know, but this sort of new take, this sort of gritty, sort of realistic approach and look at superheroes, families, and that whole dynamic of essentially, what's their life like? What are they going through? You know, I'm definitely enjoying that. I really am. So I'm going to end it there, guys. Again, this is Chris from the Rule of Thirds. Stay tuned for more comment, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you got to do. Stay with us along this journey, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.